So the idea, now that we've had the two very informative, interesting presentations from Gustav and Rich, is to have an open discussion about the contents of the presentation and anything really that you'd like to take up in relation to the subject skateboarding in the city. To help steer conversation and hopefully create a bit of debate, we have Kata from Sverige Skateboardförbund, who's going to join as a co-host up here. And we have Sandra and Fabian from Pivotech. And little does this guy know about this, but we've had a proposal to bring Soren up as well, if you don't mind. Yeah? And of course Rich and Gustav. So yeah, I'm the legs now. Right, first question for me. How many skateboarders have we got in the room? Over 50%. Easily over 50%. How many architects or landscape architects or designers have we got in the room? Ah, interesting. Are you architects involved in skateboarding in any way? Hands up if you're involved in skateboarding. Yeah, okay. How many do we have from the public sector? Tjänstemän. We got 2. 3. Oh, yeah. Ja, precis. Okay. I can fire off some questions to the panel, or is there anybody that's got a burning question to get things going? No? Quiet? Right. Don't know whether to choose Gustav or Rich. Really simple question, but it's a hard one to answer. Favourite skate spot and why? You can think about it.
For me, there's some. I think one spot that stands out to me is this on? Hello!
It's just recording you.
Oh, okay. So I just broke the recording. Fantastic. There's in London. There's it's skate stop now, but there was right opposite Scotland Yard. There was an old park with some benches. Really close to Victoria Park. Yeah, or it's called Victoria Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Victoria Park, yeah. And there were some benches there that I think were probably, they were hundreds of years old, because I think they were originally maybe 600 years old or something. They were originally poured... No, it wasn't stone. I think it was actually concrete that had turned pretty much into stone, because there was like a mesh pattern in them that was created a particular kind of friction for a grind. But the what was good about the spot was that the surface was really good, and it's unusually green little space for London, and there was just good flat land and good basic benches in this kind of curve. So for that part of the city, aside from South Bank, which is the local meetup spot, it was somewhere where you could go and have a long session unless the cops came. And it was in a nice setting, and it was a good place to meet up, and it was kind of, there was good sandwich shop around the corner and all these things. So I've had some good times there, but I mean, it's really hard to pick a particular spot. I mean, yeah, but I'd say Vicky Benches.
Do you want to reply to? Yeah. I'm interested to know the answer.
Well, I mean, maybe it's a bit of an obvious one, but MACBA. I always love MACBA. This outside of the Contemporary Art Museum in Barcelona. I mean, I love Barcelona because I think I love Barcelona. The fact the city was built for the people, that was their premise. So like they have loads of spaces where people can just go and hang out and sit, and obviously they have the weather for it. But MACBA was always this sort of mashup of high art, local residents. There was kid tourists, business people, skaters, local kids playing cricket, like in a public, in the public square, and then there was other kids playing football, and then there was skaters, and then there was a business guy, and then there was some guy juggling, then there was some guy doing parkour. It was just like a mashup of loads of people doing loads of stuff in this square, and no one really hit each other. Like, not like, had fights. No, but no one ran into each other. It was like perfect chaos. Yeah, and chaos is like skate parks a lot of the time, but it's not, because it's not actual chaos. Everyone knows where they're going. I mean, you picked up on that point. Yeah.
I'm going to ask everyone in the panel to answer this question.
All right.
Is that right?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'm. My name is Soren. I'm a landscape architect and a skateboarder, and I've been doing skate parks since the year 2000 in Denmark. And Rich showed one of the projects, the integrated water canal drainage system, and that's part of how I try to push skateboarding in different directions, because just doing a skate park gets somewhat stale after a while. And one of the late projects I've done is actually there's a lot of potential in urban schoolyards, which is basically closed off for the public after hours, and it's just a waste of good space. So now in Denmark we're trying to incorporate schoolyards as public spaces after hours, and it's basically a skate park, a schoolyard, rainwater management, and a public space. So just trying to do these multifunctional sort of ways, architectural sort of approaches gives, I think, skate parks a new value and a new sort of more authentic approach, instead of all these sort of skate parks. For me as a street skater, it's kind of a fake space, and I don't feel at home there. And I think maybe by introducing these other functionalities, like Rich just talked about, cricket players and the businessman coming by, then you maybe get a little bit more of authenticity into my projects. And it's also a way to juggle municipality money a little bit. So yeah, that's a little bit of an introduction to what I do.
Tick more boxes, like get more functionality.
Yeah.
Not just the singular skate spot.
Exactly.
It's addressing several issues.
Yeah, and that becomes a little more, let's say, philosophically interesting for me as an architect. And it's also a lot of the projects that's gained a lot of attention, whereas just doing the biggest skate park in Europe, it's not necessarily that interesting from a philosophical point of view. So by having these sort of storytelling in the projects, where you can say, this is sewer money and people go skate here. There's another sewer project in Denmark, which I didn't do, where people go and get married now, and they take the wedding photos at a sewer plant. And I think these sort of little funny, surreal stories gives identity to the place. So identity is a lot of my mind on in my projects. But back to the favorite skate spot. Back in the day when I've been skating since '88 and was really living it in the '90s, and a lot of these sort of meccas for skateboarding, especially San Francisco, was my main mecca. And Embarcadero, which was one of the big sort of urban plazas, was one of my main destinations. But it was sort of closing down by the time I was old enough to go there. And then people moved to a place called Pier 7. And it was also based, I think, one of my favorite spots because it was situated right next to the waterfront. You can see Alcatraz from there. Go out into the pier, sit and do a drawing and be by yourself. If you went back to the skate spot, there's a lot of cars coming by on the street. And the tourist was walking to Fisherman's Wharf, so you got to see the ladies as a teenager. And there was all these sort of urban happening there, urban activities. And I think that really created the atmosphere and the identity at the place. And now it's called the Red Square in Copenhagen, where I go every day, and it's basically the same. It's an urban plaza. You have trouble there. You have the drug dealers. You have the cafes. You can go around the corner, get a kebab. You can buy a beer, and you see like weird people dropping by, and it has that same urban vibe, and it's an open space with good flat ground. And I stole some granite ledges and put there, so it sort of created our little skate park / street spot. So it's not really a street spot, it's more of a skate park almost, but kind of a DIY approach. So yeah.
We have that at some of the, because in the skateboarding when you, sorry. Quick comment, but when you film stuff, if you film something at a skate park, it's kind of, you didn't find that spot. It's not as credible to have in footage. And now that we've created street spots with planned objects, people aren't quite sure if they film something, if they can put it into a part or not. Because is that real or is that a skate park? Am I cool now or not? You know, it's hard to...
I'll also add that Embarcadero is designed by a very famous landscape architect, Lawrence Halprin, who has been a big influence in my works over the last 15 years. So, who's next? Thinking about these questions, we've got prime opportunity, lots of knowledge here.
Okay, my name is Fabian. I work and run Pivotech. We're also designing office, doing skate parks in Scandinavia. I would say favorite skate spot it is. Yeah. I would say that's a really shifting thing. I think for all of us, at least for me. So it really depends on what day. Most interesting right now is we called it the new skate park in Lund on the way up. But there's like a new bus stop with banks right out of, like, it looks like Barcelona in some way, and that would be the most interesting right now. Yeah, but it will shift in some weeks, I guess.
Is it designed for skate?
No, not at all. No, so that's probably why it's kind of interesting as well. Yeah.
And my name is Sandra, and I also work at Pivotech. Mostly doing technical drawings and stuff there. And as well as Fabian, my favorite skate park place shifts all the time. And now I've been home with a kid for a long time, so now I haven't been out. So I would say my favorite spot right now is where I would take my daughter and family and friends. And right now it's just a small little park, skate park outside of Malmö, where I like to go hang out on the grass fields with friends and skate a little bit. And so yeah, that's the place right now. Åkarp it's called. And Katta.
Yeah. Yeah, and Åkarp is on the skate map at Skate Malmö. I saw the spot. Hi, my name is Katta. I work with Swedish Skateboard Federation and with all the clubs, and I do that full time, and I have a lot of stuff to do because skateboard in Sweden is growing, and also the place to skate, and it's also important to kind of take the knowledge that we all have and put it into good energy and do stuff right instead of seeing some of the pictures, the really strange obstacles. I don't know if it was art or a joke. Favorite skate park is really, or skate spot is really, it changes, and for me it's more important with who I skate and the energy that we do together. We can skate wherever, so that's my answer on that one.
It's actually a really good way into the follow-up question there. How many people in here are involved with skateboard-related föreningar or clubs? That is a question that I didn't ask. Okay, can you just quickly say what förening you're with? Trollhättan, Göteborg. Oh, sorry, do I need to come with a microphone now? I think it's important to know who's here.
Trollhättan Skateboardförening.
Yeah, Trollhättan Skateboardförening.
Göteborgs Skateboardförening.
Where was it next?
Varberg Skateboardklubb.
Hey.
Hey.
And here?
Lund Skateboard- och konstförening.
Ja. Bakom dig.
Action Park-gruppen.
Ja.
Borås Skate.
Uckrö Skatepark.
Och här har vi en
föreningen Gatuplan i Göteborg.
gatuplan. Det är flera från I missed that. Oh, have I missed anybody? Oh, Garteplan. So I'm going to ask you the questions now, and it's how do you work with your communes? How engaged are you with the communes in delivering skateboarding? And try and bounce. I'd really like to hear how it works here. We've had a really good view of how it works in Malmö. So I'm really interested to know how it works in Denmark, Copenhagen. Clubs aren't so popular in the UK.
Well, I mean, I did a stint. I don't. Just throw it. I did a stint as the London representative for the UK Skateboarding Association, and God, it's a mouthful. Again, maybe that's the closest förening, like in London, type thing, you know, a skateboarding association. But yeah.
Okay.
Quick thing, sorry. I guess one thing with skate organizations is that they're usually strong where the industry isn't strong, and the UK has a strong skate industry that does the things that organizations otherwise do. So they put on events, they do tours, they finance the magazines, they do all this stuff. So countries that are either where there are strong skate organizations often don't have that same kind of industry presence. But that's because the institutions kind of work differently as well. Like Sweden doesn't have a strong skate industry, but because there's skate organizations, they can do other things. Like all the stuff that Kata works on is driven, and that we work with is driven by public interest. It's motivated by public interest, whereas skate industry driven countries are more about creating heroes and having competitions and that sort of thing. So it's a bit of a different setup.
Thanks. Is there anyone that would like to say something about their förening or the works there? I know that Trollhättan, for example, you've done lots the last 4 years maybe. I know Borås have also got a really good example of how engaging with youngsters starting with a good location, building a structure for indoor skate and then growing therefrom. I know that Garteplan work with competitions and really working hard on that side of things in Gothenburg. Shall I come over? I'm looking for some guidance. You can introduce yourself.
Yeah. Whoops. Well, my name is Peter, and I'm with the Trollhättan Skateboard Förening. What I would like to ask is not related to what you asked me right now, but if there is like any tips for how to maybe claim a street spot to be something more, to be more I don't know how to pronounce that. How to get it to work with the city in a better way. If it would be like trying to claim the spot, or rather ask for permission, or if you understand what I mean. So I don't know how important it is, but
sorry.
Yeah.
I can start the answer from a landscape architect's point of view, but if I take a typical project, it's really important that you familiarize yourself with the location and you do like some sort of assessment to see if it's possible to skateboard there. The noise is the classic problem, so
maybe just don't ask for permission. Maybe just don't ask for permission right away and just try to see how it goes, or should that be a?
That's
Yeah, I mean, you see, in England, in London, especially, it's pretty disorganized, right? So it's a real, there's lots of messed up spaces where nothing's happening, and I'll tell you a story. Two of the blocks which were in the Architecture Foundation exhibition, we moved them to this sort of dead end road which was within a park, and there was no residents around, so it wasn't going to cause any noise, and the park was not being used for anything else, and it was a perfect surface, and we placed these 2 blocks there, and we didn't ask permission. But then it became a spot. It became a really nice place to hang out because it was a nice park. It was like in Shoreditch. It was close to a lot of bars and places to eat, and pubs. And people would go skate there. And then, like, sort of 6 years later, the council had some money to make the park better. And an artist friend of mine was on the committee for making a bouldering spot at the park. And, in the board meeting, they're like, yeah, we love these blocks. Where are they from? And my artist friend was like, oh, I don't know. We skipped forward 4 years. A friend of mine, because the surface where they're on, they'd been there for 10 years. The council hadn't moved them. No, maybe 6 years. 6 years. And the ground was getting messed up, so a friend of mine wanted to move these blocks to another spot which was disused, where they'd be good then to skate. And so he asked me and said, yeah, sure, man, of course, move them. And in doing so, one of the local residents called the cops on him while he was moving them. And he didn't get arrested then, but then the police went around to his house later on and accused him of stealing council property, which of course it never was. So then I had a conversation with the policeman, showing them that I'd made them and, I'd paid for them, and I don't know how they got their officer, because there's no proof of them. Well, actually there is proof that how they got there, but it's on a hard drive somewhere in North Sweden, so they're not going to find it. And then there was this real ownership thing going on, because the council then were like, well, they've been in our location for 10 years, so they're ours. But no, they're not ours. But they were moved and nobody got arrested or fined or anything, and it was fine. Now, probably Sweden is way more organised in comparison to London, let's say. Yeah, in a different way. And maybe if you dropped a 2-ton bit of stone somewhere, there's always someone with a big truck to go and pick it up. Now in London that's not the case, because we don't have snow, and a big 2-ton truck is not anywhere. So I don't think dropping them illegally is going to work in Sweden much, but it might. It does in Denmark. I mean, it might. It depends on the space, because the spaces where we put these objects was disused, dysfunctional space. And it was really not doing anything, and then skaters started using it, and it brought life to these dead spaces, as Gustav was talking about. So it's dependent on space, I think.
I kind of have a story from Denmark that might give you a little bit of tip of how you can approach it. At the Red Plaza I was talking about, which is basically the way I want to skate. I want to skate a public space. I want to be at an urban plaza. And the skate parks are always sort of behind a little bit, because the people in charge, they're not the skaters themselves. So they are very pragmatic. They do what they've seen. If you want to skate, then they make your skate park. And if you're a street skater, that might not be the case of what you want to skate. You want to maybe skate down here. So to this day, after 17 years of creating skate parks, I still haven't been able to do the project I want to do. So that puts a little bit into perspective how long it takes to get to the point of doing it the right way. I'm getting closer, and I have what I call little butterflies in each project, where I can do some granite details or put in a drainage system where it becomes more authentic. But at the Red Plaza, it was just perfect flat ground, nothing much to skate. But then we just started to place a little, like some found objects. something to ollie over a trash can, and nobody really kind of got angry at us skating there. So we can claim this space a little more. I found some granite blocks that was just deposed somewhere. Found a cart where I could wheel them over to my office, and I was just okay if we put too much junk at the spot, they'll probably remove it. So I'll just disguise it and camouflage it. I'll paint it red at the bottom, sort of the platform for it, and put it there. And now that they want to change the surface, they have to do because it's too slippery. We're starting to engage with the city and say, okay, look, we skate, and actually some of the drug dealers are starting to skate. That's actually integration. So I made this actually a long report, almost like a sociologist. I made a report about what's the benefits of having people there in the autumn where it's kind of gray and the rain just stopped and it starts to get dry. We're the first people there. We create activity and tell these stories about being on the first name with the local bottle collector from Gambia, the homeless guy. It's actually, you're talking to these people, you're interacting with the city, and those people feel accepted at the place. So I'm telling these sort of positive stories about the social activity that goes on. So that can help. And luckily there's actually a skate park right across the street. So that sort of shows, okay, there is a skate park, but people want to skate here. There is local scooter kids and some skaters that like to skate there, but it's in the shadow and it's sort of in a corner of the park. People want to be right where the action is at. So that is really, they're really pragmatic. And if you can sort of show them, give them pictures in their head of why is it a street spot that's important to you and why is it not a skate park good enough. So I don't know if that gives you a little bit of tips to sort of tell them stories.
I think, I agree with it. It's about explaining to the council how the positive benefits that the council can have from an active skate spot. But you're an organization, right? You're Trollhättan Skateförening. Yeah, so you're a partner to the city, and you should work towards having a relationship with the city, and that should be your focus. So, okay, what can we do to show the city that they're getting benefit from the stuff that we do? The easiest way to do that at a street spot is to host an event. Say that you apply for a police permit to do a skate event. You want to bring attention to this spot. And then for the event, you use your budget to build skate obstacles. And then you ask, is it okay if we leave them here for a trial period of, let's say, a month? And then you can show the council you could do an event, you're responsible. You can handle the budgets. You can deliver something that brings activity to the space. And then you give them proof of concept that this works. This place worked as a skate destination. We had these many people skated every day. We had no reports of a conflict. And then you can say, is there any chance for next year's event that we leave the blocks for a longer time? Or that you even make them permanent? And that's a good strategy because then you're not telling the council that you have to build this for us now because we want to skate here. You're showing that we're willing to show you that this will work. And that's a way, but that's how we did back to Vanhem, that's how we did Konsthallstorget. All those ledges have been bought on event money and then placed permanently. So, but because we chose to buy event obstacles in granite, they don't wear out after 6 months. They can stay there for 20 years. And so that's a good strategy. And then as you build that relationship and you get closer into the dialogue with developing new spaces for the city, you can say, well, hey, this new area of town that's being built, can we be in there from the ground up to help it be developed for skating? That's the whole street stuff. Then you have the DIY stuff. A lot of the time the empty spaces are not public spaces. They're private, or kvartersmark, not allmän platsmark, which has a different... I mean, if it's private land, just call the landlord. Say, hey, no one's doing stuff in your area. We can make it active and safe by building some DIY stuff in here. Look what they did in Malmö. Is that okay with you? We'll pay for it ourselves. We'll, do a nice media report and try and get your name in the paper that you're working with the local skaters, whatever. That's a good way to go ahead, I think. Yeah. Yeah, you just got to remember you have to deliver more because they don't know. You have to show them that you're better than they expect you to be, and then it's cool.
Yeah, but choose.
How do you report to the council when you have an outdoor spot? How many users do you have here? If you have an indoor park, it's very easy because you have members and names and so on. But how do you give the figures about how many skaters do you have in this street spot?
Yeah, there's a difference between
This is good training.
Oh, good. You're getting your. How's that app working for you? You're getting some leg miles.
Getting the miles in.
There's a difference between telling a story and showing something than having the exact statistics, and I think we could all do with some more statistics. But if a good way is getting media. Like, tell the story to the local press that you're developing this spot. Also, events. For an event, you can have clickers. You can check how many people visited and say that, okay, we had this many over that day. And then you can do kind of spot checks over, take some photos and make an illustration. Tell the story of how this space has come alive. Ask some people who live in the area to do a little interview. Ask them, has this benefited the space or not? You don't necessarily need the exact numbers to show something that's working. You just need examples and testaments, I suppose. So I would work with the events to show that, hey, we're activating this space. And then if you have a friend journalist, get them to write about it and publish it in the local paper, and then make sure that the local politician who's responsible gets invited and they can have their face in the paper, and then that's everyone's part of a positive story, and you can keep working on that. Yeah, I suppose that's an answer. Yeah.
Have we got any more questions here?
So the problem we've had out here at the Esperantoplatsen was that actually public opinion was really bad. They were not very fond of people skating here, which started this whole story of actually some people coming here vandalizing the curbs and so on and so forth, which ended up in what we can see here outside, benches being covered in wooden benches in the classical sense. Still not stopping people from skating here, just making it kind of worse skating. How do you reverse something like that? Because what you said, Gustav, when you were talking about how to deal with the annoyances of skateboarding, would it be a possibility to rebuild the curbs in a different material? And what would happen if that doesn't keep people from complaining? That's a bunch of money on the line.
I can start with what was with the design of the square. I mean, it's perfect for skateboarding, but I would question the department responsible for the design of the square, what they did for the dialogue process, how they engaged the people in the area, and had they done a thorough process, then perhaps it wouldn't have been so skate friendly. But it's a very difficult question how to reverse to a skatable place, as I see it. And I'm looking over here for some. Yeah, it's also. I mean, it's been debated at length. Oh, yep.
Was it accidentally good for skating, or was it a purpose?
If my understanding's correct, yeah, the landscape architect does have a skateboarding background, but like they snuck in that functionality.
I had an similar experience at the Red Plaza where we skated. because the neighbors were really annoyed by it. Luckily, they didn't come to vandalizing and sledgehammers and stuff like that, but they were complaining. And after a couple of years, the complaining has actually gone away. And basically, they probably got used to living in a city. So now they got used to it. And I don't think they notice it that much anymore. But reversing it might be hard. And to be honest, this might be a dead case because it's really close to, I can see, to people living there. But it could be, of course it's possible. So maybe you have a suggestion.
The noise is actually causing a problem to those that live higher up because it reverberates and amplifies.
From my understanding of the Esperantoplatsen story, it's not the general opinion of the neighbors. There's one particular neighbor who's an old man who's upset about this. And this is a question of who is your constituency? Who is part of your, who are members of the society that you want to create? And you've had a situation where you've had a bunch of skaters who've been here. And then they've had a very strong individual who's been opposed to skateboarding. The skaters have conducted a dialogue. They've asked the whole neighborhood about who wants to skate, if it's okay if they're here. And most of the neighborhood has said yes. And then you have one person who takes a sledgehammer and breaks the city property, which makes it unskateable. But I mean, in comparison to the damage that the skaters were doing, it's, I mean, yeah, it's a question that's intended damage. It's not incidental damage. And yeah, it's actual vandalism. And that's a very, significant difference. And so in order to avoid the problem, you put wooden benches over the spot. That's a relationship you're creating with the skaters. I mean, it may be, let's say you do a proper poll. You ask the whole area, everyone who can hear skate noise. Do you want the skaters to be able to be in this space? And let's say you have 30% say no, and you go, that's quite a lot still, that's 30%. If you've done that, and you tell the skaters, hey, at least 30% of the people here don't want you to be here, what can we do? Do you have another suggestion? Is there another space where you could, where you could skate that's in an equal, socially significant area of town, like Stenpiren or Plaskis or these other places? Then you have a good relationship, and for the money that you can't spend to fix Esperantoplatsen, you could make 5 other Esperantoplatsen spots. But I would take those wooden benches away, and I would let the skaters help you fix the ledges so that they're skatable. They may not look good, but at least you'll have an active space. But whether or not you want to you need to do something to prove to the skaters that you're on their side at this point, because this has really damaged the relationship between the city and the skaters, I think. But, yeah.
I can compliment what you're saying there. As part of this event, we've had to get planning permission just to place out those sculptures on the square for 4 hours. And as part of that process, we've had dialogue with those around the square within a 80-meter radius we decided upon with the commune. And everybody that we met was like, oh, wow, what, you're going to be skating? You're doing an event on the square? Can't wait for it. So the people are there. The support for something positive to happen is there. But it's a sensitive one.
Just have a quick comment about the relationship a couple of years ago when the wooden things got on, and there's a sign over there said that the skaters and the people living here are in agreement that skateboarding is allowed here and this is a place for everyone, but skateboarding can only be allowed until 10 o'clock, which is fine, and it was obeyed. What I saw, this is my favorite spot. I skated here like I'm 37 and I'm never skated so much in any spot like here. So there's an email address on the sign, or maybe a phone number, which I emailed and asked, what about our dialogue? We are changing the agreement, and you are changing the agreement. And I have it posted. I posted it on a WordPress blog, the whole conversation 4 years ago, where Gothenburg City is saying, we do not have an... Oh, sorry. I'm gonna take the Swedish, it's easier. Vi har inte för avsikt att starta en ny dialogprocess kring Esperantoplatsen. No more dialogue. And then I asked why, and I never got an answer. And this was Lena Jakobsson, Park- och naturförvaltningen.
I knew this was a can of worms, but I can kind of help Park and Natur a little bit there. The project was financed by the traffic department and then handed over to Park and Natur to maintain. So it's kind of like, here, take that. I think it's okay. Can you look after it? Can you answer all the public opinion?
Exactly.
So I know there's frustration between the departments, but yeah, it's a sensitive one, and that's we're here. We're here to discuss it on Esperantoplatsen. Katte?
Yeah, and I think that the Esperantoplatsen thing or is like a really good example about how it shouldn't have been happening, kind of. And also, like, we have to learn about it, and as Gustav said, maybe it's we have to look in different spots. But the thing is also, for the Swedish Skateboard Förbund, we have money to help our clubs to develop like skate parks and skate spots and so. But then there's also, of course, the fine lines and the rules we have to follow. So it's not just to apply for money and now we have a skate spot. It's a bit paperwork, and as Gustav said, I think it's really a good plan by doing stuff kind of that way, building the relationship and not going... well, I started skating in the 90s, and I feel like the mentality is easy, that it's like, as a skater, older skater, you come and like, what about us? Because we've been going in the motvind like many years, and then it's the feeling. I can feel that people feel that that what about us? You always forget about us. We like, we should have this instead of like Gustav said. Okay, we would like to do this. How can we make it work and to get to the goal and keep building the relationship? Yeah, we have a bit money that the clubs can apply for, but it's also a bit rules behind it. But you know, I think it's not, when you think about the skate park, you shouldn't just think about like building a park outside somewhere. It's also a skate spot, creating a dead space. Maybe the thing you need is like a new marmor and maybe a post, like a lighting, so you get light at the skate. Create a skate spot that's already there. Exactly. Yeah, you take a better material, and then make it work with the commune, and we can go in with the money and have a dialogue and create skate spots in the urban jungle kind of thing.
That was my idea with the dialogue, trying to build a seed where we can talk and like, how do we fix it, because we can't let vandalism win. But never happened. I got old. No, I'm still old, but
never give up, never give in.
Thank you. I might also have a little bit of some stories about the Red Plaza that might help you a little bit, because they actually wanted, the surface was too slippery in the rain, so they got these sort of complaints about people falling on their bikes. So basically that was their task, to solve that problem. And they wanted to spend 13 million kronas to change the surface to brick surface. And we were just like, oh shit, now our skate spot is doomed. And we found out like that that was about to happen, and I started writing them, and it took me, I think, 7 or 8 mails to get a meeting set up, because they were also very sort of, no, we have to solve this problem, it's too far in the process, we're going to do it in 2 months, and it's too late. So basically we started to not attack them from different sides, but approach them from different sides. Whereas we have the equivalent of Gustav in Denmark, the Prime Minister of skateboarding, we call him William. And he was sort of the street consultant of the city. And he wrote them. And I, as an architect, wrote them and said, I have experience with this, and it's a stupid idea, and you don't know whether people are going to skate there still. It's going to make even more noise. And then we have the concerned skateboarder, William, who's another guy who's really dedicated to skateboarding. So we had sort of 3 characters to approach them from different angles, and then we got a meeting and started a dialogue. And now hopefully we can get a designated area where they don't put in the bricks, but maybe concrete or densifold or some skate-friendly surface. And they're tired of the junk that was placed there. And we said, okay, maybe we can do some skate objects that are more integrated into the area, and we would love that. That actually make it even more authentic. So we're trying to attack it from different approaches with different people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's repeating the same point, but kind of what Gustav was saying. My take would be to try and get permission to do an event there, which is celebrating the subculture of skateboarding, the creativity that exists within it, and put a load of artwork there, and you could do a side effectsy type thing. It's not just, it's celebrating the creativity that it exists within skateboarding at the scene. And of course, skateboarding is part of that. But I think if you pose that to the commune, then you're not making a skate event, you're making an art event. Yeah. It's less likely to get shot down by probably that one dude. Or maybe they might be open to the idea because you're bringing a load of other artwork within the space, and then you make an object, or because you could go down the route of let's make a skate event there, but I think you've already tried that, or it seems like that's not going. But so make an art, okay, make an art event there, and part of that art event is skateboarding, because they probably wouldn't stop an art event.
Yeah, I think one way is also to see what kind of a location this is, because it's Esperanto Platsen, and Esperanto, I don't know if you know, but it represents the how different cultures and languages can be united in a way. So I think there are a lot of things that this location itself can also give us to be able to organize some events through here. Because of the Spro Cafe has been here, the first thing that they made here. They came here 2004, I think. And after that, when they built this in 2008, the problem emerged. But the Spro Cafe is the only thing that is related to the spot directly, So because there is no Esperanto events happening here or anything, so maybe these kind of things could be also combined with this event to organize something. Because I think this will also bring attention to them as well. If there's more people, they get more people into their cafeteria.
Means hope.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just by doing this event and putting the objects there, already people walk past that every day are probably going, what are these? What's this? Something has changed. Yeah. You didn't get any of that with this, did you?
I mean, it is skated. Every day I hear people out there skating. Yeah, so there is life there. It's not like it's forbidden or anything. But I was just thinking about other cities that have really, really integrated skateboarding. For example, Melbourne or even Hull in the UK have worked very hard with the communes to establish policies. I mean, Melbourne has got a fantastic policy on how to integrate skateboarding in different situations, from like residential on the suburbs through to the very city centre. And if the groundwork was done by the communes, so that they knew what they were investing in, if they had the policy documentation to make these places happen and acceptable through the detailplan process, maybe. Yeah, it's questions that I would like to take with Gothenburg. But the sun is trying to come out. I'm going to hope that it's a bit dry out there and say that let's go skate. Any last thoughts, comments before we tie this up?
Yeah, we were talking about the rain here, and I guess we should aim for spots behind bridges, or why not? In Gothenburg and Borås.
I know that Rödesten, by the bridge there, you can't develop under the bridge because of the foundations for the stanchions, but also unfortunately it needs to be soft ground if you jump off the bridge.
Yeah, and what about
Yeah, I know if you got that far, you kind of have to question. But yeah, and I can also refer to a DIY project that we had going on in Partille.
Yeah.
Trafikverket didn't like it and it disappeared overnight.
My name is Axel. I work for the city of Gothenburg. I work with sports areas, so I don't work with public space that we want to develop for skateboard. But I'm very impressed by Malmö, how you work with skateboarders, and I think one of the key factors is that Malmö has Bryggeriet, and the city of Malmö has a counterpart to have discussions and not just discuss actual places where like this one, just it's important to have like proactive dialogue, so you can discuss all the squares and all the parts of the city of Gothenburg that is not yet developed but is about to develop. So if you have like for the city, always want to have a strong counterpart to discuss how to develop your interests, and like Fotbollsförbundet is very successful in making football grounds. Cykelförbundet is one part. So I think if all the skateboarders would organize and have like one strong voice and have like a proactive dialogue, and since the municipality is like 4 years, it's nothing for us. The planning process is a very long time, so you have to be maybe you want something to happen like this year, but also have a dialogue that is focused on what will be built in 3 years and 4 years and maybe 10 years. We were planning a plaza at Kviberg, and we wanted it to be adjusted for skateboards, and the first suggestions we took from we made was like 5 years or 6 years maybe before it was actually built. So we met some skateboarders, and when we started the dialogue, I think it was with Christian in 2010, and then I called him 4 years later and said, hello, now we're planning to build this square, can we continue the dialogue? And yeah,
3 weeks before the deadline.
3 weeks before the deadline. I wasn't the project manager of that. We handed over to another apartment. So, but I think next time we will have the dialogue continuing from the first suggestion all the years to until it will be built. So I think organization is a very important key factor. Yeah, that's a problem.
What about restoration?
Yeah,
the problem that the skateboarders didn't cause.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't been working with this, but I think dialogue is the only way. Yeah, and you will not always succeed, unfortunately, but you have to try the next one. I think the way to move forward and maybe if you lose one spot, you have 20 more to develop.
I really agree with you, Axel, that the strong factor of Malmö has been that it has had one strong unified skate organization. It's had Bryggeriet and it's represented most of the skaters, and it's had a mix of individuals that have contributed in different ways and that have also gotten along with each other and been proactive in nurturing the relationship between the skaters and the city. Again, like outperforming the expectations and then coming up with a suggestion for what to do next. Most skate scenes aren't that way. Most skate scenes in different cities are fractioned, and the street guys don't hang out with the bowl guys, and the guys from this shop don't hang out with the guys from this shop. The people that just want street stuff, and the park guys just want park stuff. That's classic. The thing is, Bryggeriet have also learned how to get money from many different places. So they get money from fritidsförvaltningen to do skate schools and have the skate park. They get money for gatukontoret to do events, and they have people working with events. They have their own skate park building company that puts the profit back into the organization, and that can then work with developing the bowl side, etc., etc. They have all these sources. They have the high school, which funds the rebuilding of the skate park every year. And they're good at being like an octopus with many different arms in many different directions. All those arms have different people doing different stuff, which means that the bowl guys get to do the bowl stuff, and the street guys get to kind of push the street stuff, and so on. And I think for Gothenburg, you have all these different limbs, and you can have different organizations. But unless you're gonna be in competition with each other, you have to get together and work out who's gonna be focusing on what and how can we work together and making sure that it benefits the overall scene. And when that happens, you're gonna have a strong position to talk to the city. And I know Axel is there; he's waiting, like he's ready. Already probably talking to Gatuplan about stuff, so which is sick. And you have the competence here with the different organizations. And I've mainly been talking to the Gatuplan people about doing street stuff. And there's a lot of people that want to do stuff, Berget, the whole scene. And everyone wants to develop skating. And the city is there waiting for a responsible partner. And you're going to have to provide that. And probably it's starting to happen, and you will. But it's important to... Yeah, you get it.
Thank you. One of the ideas behind today's event was to start sort of linking those people together to create some sort of communication network here in Gothenburg, so that those with a skate background with different competences in different fields can start to do things. And I hope this is the start of a positive future for us. I'm going to tie things up and say... Thank you, and thank you very much for everyone that's presented today, especially Rich, Gustav, and the co-hosts here. Fantastic. Hope you found it informative. Welcome feedback.